The following program contains the opinions of the host, guests, and call-in participants. These do not necessarily represent the views of this show's distributors or sponsors. This program may contain obscene, profane, or otherwise objectionable language. Viewer discretion is advised. Yes, coming to you cordless, everybody. Greetings from Minneapolis. It's Wednesday night, May 28th, 2025. I am Jim Peters. Welcome to another edition of Jim Peters at Night, episode number 234 for your scorecards at home. All right, we're taking calls all night tonight. The call number is 325-CALL-JIM. It's on the bottom of the screen here. 225-225-5546. Larry Newman is our guest tonight. We got a little bit of a problem, if you want to call it a problem. As you know, normally we have our guests at the top of the show, and we take calls and we do the wacky news in the second half. Larry can't make it right away. So Larry's going to sign in about 9:15, 9 o'clock. And in the meantime, we are going to do what we call in the broadcast industry, we're going to fill. That's what. So you want to help me fill? Call up, okay? 325-CALL-JIM. You can manage it. We're also taking text messages at 408-458-5088. Best telephone number in America. Silicon Valley. Yeah, right. Who cares? You don't care. It's okay. So let me tell you what we got going on. We got it going on. You know, we got that. Okay, Boomer. Yeah, right. So yeah, Larry's coming on later, maybe. Now Larry had to go to a ball game for his grandson, and you know, I'm not going to stop that. I'm pro family, man. It's like this is not any MAGA conservative bullshit. I just am. Unusual. Ironically, I have no children of my own, but I have huge families on both sides, and I'm really into it. And my wife's family, bless their hearts, these people know how to have fun. Talk about work hard and play hard. Holy shit! It's like yeah, so when it comes to the in-laws, I married very, very well. So, so Larry's off. His grandson is having a ball game tonight. And I said, hit a home run for me. And I told Larry, I said, look, if you don't make it, you don't make it. You know, what the hell? But he says he was very insistent about the fact he'll be signing by 9. So we'll find out. And in the meantime, you should call me up. 325-CALL-JIM. Okay, that's tonight. Tomorrow night, normally we have a show. We're taking tomorrow off because speaking of family, I have to go see my mother in southern Minnesota. So, she's 100 years old. She comes on the show regularly when she calls in. She's doing really well. Yeah, so I'm going to it's basically an all-day trip. It is. Now, we started this on Monday, and we're going to continue this tomorrow night. This is going to be a regular thing from now on Monday through Thursday. If I can't sit here live and do this, by the way, I'm looking at you. I'm live right now. I'm looking at you. Yeah, you. Yes, we're live. If I can't be live, we're going to run a rerun. And tomorrow night, it's going to be Robert Tannenbaum. He's the guy who's a deputy chief counsel for the House Select Assassination Committee. This House Select Committee on Assassinations, the HSCA, right? That's what it is. This is going back to 1978, and he's the guy. He says he has irrefutable proof that Lee Harvey Oswald did not shoot John F. Kennedy. Now I held him to this, and that's the subtitle of his book, and it's coming out on June 10th. We actually had him on well before the book came out. This book's coming out on June 10th. I held him to this because really the subtitle of his book is Lee Harvey Oswald did not kill JFK. That's the subtitle. But really what it should have been, and I told him this and he reluctantly agreed, it should have been Lee Harvey Oswald did not shoot JFK alone. Because I have my own scenario of what happened in Dealey Plaza on November 22nd, 1963, and it matches up very well with what Tannenbaum says the evidence they found shows. And he says there were 3 to 4 shooters on the plaza. My best that I can tell was 3, and Lee Harvey Oswald may or may not have been one of them, although he was definitely in the building at the school book Texas School Book Depository. And what we know now, and Tannenbaum and I talked about this, we know now for a fact, it's been verified that Lee Harvey Oswald was working for both the FBI and the CIA at that time. He was a CIA operative. So he was almost certainly involved in the assassination. But whether he was actually in the window on the 6th floor with a rifle, that's may or may not be true. There's a lot of I don't know if I'd say a lot of evidence, but there's evidence to indicate he was not. There's more evidence to indicate that he was not than that he was. And I'm going to run this by you because we got time to kill here, and this is really important. So, a minute after the shooting, about 60 seconds after the shooting, people said they saw him in the 2nd floor break room in the Texas School Book Depository. Now, the shooters were on the 6th floor. There's only one stairwell in that building, and apparently you can if you can actually or CBS News actually did this years ago. They timed how long it would take somebody to get from that sniper's desk to the 2nd floor break room, and that you could do it in a minute. You had to do it at breakneck speed. You had to run like hell. The other thing is, this is a stupid little detail, but it really is worth mentioning considering the timing here, about the fact that everybody who saw Oswald said he was drinking a Coke. It takes 30 seconds to get a Coke out of the vending machine there. And so because of that, he probably almost certainly was not actually on the 6th floor. The other thing is, too, if you're looking at this from Oswald's point of view, and he's looking for an alibi, being in the break room is a perfect alibi, because it was pretty obvious in retrospect, and Tannenbaum agreed with me, although this is just speculation. There's no actual proof of this at all, that Lee Harvey Oswald was also the designated patsy. They had decided this ahead of time, and he figured this out very quickly right after the shooting. He appeared to have been maybe like a few minutes, but but at that time he's not really looking for an alibi, he didn't come to that conclusion that he was going to get blamed for this, but still you'd want to have an alibi if you were involved. You would. I'm not on the 6th floor shooting. I'm in the break room. So anyway, and the other thing is, there's a guy, and I can't remember his name. He's devoted like 18 years of his life to try to track down very specifically what went on in the stairwell of that building that day. Because like I said, there's only one stairs up and down the floors. And nobody immediately before or after the shooting saw Oswald in the stairwell. So I don't know. There's that too. Now I'm here to announce this to you. Larry Newman is here. Larry Newman is here. Can I hear you? Hello?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah, it all works. It works. You're early. Yep. What happened?
Oh, they had a good game.
And game's done?
I left a little early, but they were doing good. They're ahead.
What, 7 innings? They're playing 7 innings?
They play 6. He's only 7 years old.
Oh, okay, I didn't know. I didn't know that. But I didn't know, and I don't know. I know some of the really young kids only play 5 too. I know that.
Yeah, single, double, and 3 or 4 runs batted in. So he did good.
Oh, that's great. That's fantastic. No home runs, though. I thought maybe home runs.
No, not tonight yet.
More. How are you?
Good. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm doing good. I'm doing really good. I have my big news, and I talked about this last night, is we have the entire month of June booked for guests. The whole thing. It's all done.
That's great.
I know. I'm very happy. And so, yeah, you're in there somewhere. So, so I know you probably have plenty you want to talk about, very important stuff, but because I was not planning on you this early, I have some unimportant stuff I want to discuss with you, and that is today's National Burger Day. Did you know that?
No, I did not.
Yes, it's National Burger Day, and Yelp.com, they have compiled based on their reviews, what people say are the top 25 burger chains in the United States. And you want to know about this, right? Because they're burgers.
Oh yes, yes, yes.
Yeah. Okay. So I thought we could discuss this. Uh, In-N-Out Burgers first from California. You ever been there?
Nope.
Oh, it's fantastic. It really is. I mean, it's like
They
it
have
deserves to be there. I mean, I don't know how many. I think. Well, you had to be to make this list. You had to have at least 100 outlets in your chain. So, and I didn't know they had that many. I thought it was maybe 35 or 40. But yeah, it's really really freaking good. They're good at that. Number two, I never heard of this. Is Habit Burger. Have you heard of them?
never heard of them.
No, I haven't either. They're from California too. Number three was Shake Shack, which I also love. It's one of my perfects. Do you have any of those?
Where are those at? Where,
They're
do
all
they
over.
have them up north?
They're all over the country, but they're mostly in major cities. So there might be some in
Okay.
St. Louis. You
I
know.
stay away from major cities. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, you do, don't you? How big is Joplin? I don't even know.
It's about 60,000.
Oh, I didn't even know it was that big. I thought it was maybe about 20. No, but 60.
No. It was 40,000 for years and years and years, and they finally had a boom, and the city fathers kind of turned loose of the stranglehold they had, and it started growing. So we're about 60,000.
I have this theory, Larry, and somebody called me on this recently, and I'm starting to think they're right. My theory is that people are going to start moving out of major cities, and pretty much everybody knows that. And I thought they were going to start going to like what I call mid-sized cities. I mean, a good example would be maybe like Sioux Falls, South Dakota, 250,000 people, that sort of thing. Because you don't need to be in a big city to work anymore. But you know what?
No.
What apparently what's actually happening is people are moving to small towns, legitimately small towns, like 20,000 people. Because as long as you have an internet connection, most people can work now, or a lot of people can. So it doesn't surprise me that a place like Joplin would actually like increase in population. It wouldn't.
Yeah. Well, the biggest city, the biggest town I've ever actually lived in inside the city limits, we had 125. That was dogs and cats and everything.
And well, you in Missouri, you got
25. Yeah.
you got both Kansas City and St. Louis on opposite sides of the state.
No, I'm down here in the country.
Yeah, right. I personally, I'm very fond of Kansas City. I've never been to St. Louis. I haven't. Big Arch.
It's pretty nice town.
Yeah.
We got the Cardinals, so what else do you need?
Right. Oh, all right. I'm getting back to this list. Number 4 on the list was Culver's. I'm assuming you're familiar with that. That's mostly a Midwest thing. That's pretty deserving. That's pretty darn good. Yeah. I've never heard of Islands Fine Burgers. That's number 5. Mostly Arizona and California. Never heard of that. Freddy's. I've never heard of that. Although that's in Wichita. That was founded in
Freddy's. Yeah, I've had Freddy's once. It was pretty good.
All right. Okay. Number 7 is Five Guys. You probably had. I don't know if you had that.
No, not had that one.
Mostly a metropolitan thing. We have several here in town. I gotta admit, my buddies seem to think this too. The burgers aren't that great. They're okay. The French fries at Five Guys are fantastic. More people go for the fries than for the burgers. I don't know what they do, but then you got the Wayback Burgers. I don't know where that's at. Delaware, I guess. Mooyah, never heard of that.
Nope.
Number 10, Red Robin. We got those in town here. I don't know if you have any of those. All right. And then the rest of the list, I'll read it off. Jack in the Box is 11. That's mostly a California thing. Cookout, never heard of that. Burger Fry, never heard of that. Whataburger, I have heard of that, but never had it. Wahlburgers is at the wall. That's the what's the name of it? Wahlburger Brothers.
Johnny and Mark.
Yeah,
Wall.
I gotta admit, I've had it. I think it's kind of boring. I think it's kind of bland. Number 16 is Smash Burger. That's not bad. Number 17 is McDonald's, and I gotta say, for bullshit fast food, I'm good for that. How about you?
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah, it's you're not going to win any awards, but how much is it? Well, then again, it is getting pretty expensive. I mean, do you eat?
Oh my goodness! Yeah,
Jesus Christ! It's like shit.
It's everything there is just sky high. You just can't go.
Go to
steakhouse and get a burger. It's cheaper than McDonald's.
That's
Yeah.
right. That's right. And I think we have Joe Biden to thank for that. It's like
Mm.
it's just just standard bullshit inflation. Okay, so Sonic's number 18. We got a couple. Matter of fact, I got one up the street here. Uh,
Yeah.
nice drive-in. I'm not crazy about the food, but that's one of the few places that will actually bring food to your car. 19's Burger King. Number 20 is White Castle. I think that started in St. Louis, did it? Didn't it?
I think so. Yeah. Just
Yeah,
outside of St. Louis.
yeah. We have a lot of White Castle.
I wasn't too thrilled with their burgers, but
Yeah,
White Castle.
I don't
It's
know.
kind
It's
of like
I think it's a
the
culture.
volume. They're quick and they make a lot of them, and the quality's not the greatest.
Yeah, yeah. You're right.
I'm a Wendy's fan. Their meat is the best.
That's on the list. That's number 22 on the list. Fat Burger
Yeah.
was first. I'm 21. I've never had that. Wendy's is. I'm very fond of Wendy's too. Number 23 is Carl Jr.'s. That's California. We have one single one here in town. It's pretty good. And then 24, I've never heard of Checkers, and 25 is Steak and Shake. And that I've never been to one, but
They're all right.
yeah, they're all right. Yeah. So anyway, we took care of that. So yeah, that's great. I actually had a burger for lunch today, and I didn't even know about this. So it just happened to happen.
Mm.
So anything you want to talk about?
Oh, any of the current news is fine, and what all's going on, and it's just it's a whirlwind in Washington D.C. I mean, there's you don't need the 24-hour news cycle to create something new, because there's something new every day.
Yeah, yeah.
The White House, so it's
Well, I'll tell you what's
it's
in my
exciting.
the extension of that is just something new every day, and the damn legacy media will just completely screw up reporting it. I
Oh,
can't. I just don't. I never can get over it. It's the old thing, and I think David Strom at Hard Air actually started this, but people are pleading all the time that you can't hate the legacy media enough. But here's a good example of what's going on.
nobody's watching the legacy media.
No, that's right.
CNN,
That's my point.
MSNBC, and they got nobody watching, so it doesn't matter.
CNN, the ratings have gone down even more. Now they're only drawing 400,000 people during prime time. Now your
Mhm.
Kansas City television stations for their 10 o'clock news, they draw more than 400,000 people.
Yeah.
No, I'm not
Yeah.
kidding. They actually do.
Uh,
I mean, nobody's watching this. I don't see how they can survive. Well,
and a comedy show, Gutfeld, has tanked all the rest of them.
yes, that's right. Yeah,
And that's just hilarious.
and you have to pay to watch it. That's the other thing. All the rest of them are on broadcast TV. You have to pay
Yeah.
to watch Gutfeld, and he's still just completely cleaning up.
Yeah.
No, these people. I don't know if you saw. I had Jonathan Lockwood, the military historian, on last night, and a retired colonel, but he was talking about the fact that. All right, I have to collect my thoughts. What was he actually talking about? He was talking about the fact that the reason people watch Fox News is because everyone's so goddamn pleasant, and they are.
Yeah,
He's right
they are.
about that. It's like
They are.
you watch.
And
Yeah, go ahead.
I mean, you can believe. I mean, when they report the news, they report the news. They don't spin it. They don't anything. You can count on it being accurate.
Yeah, relatively.
And the thing about Fox News that impresses me is, okay, there's something happened today. If it's not huge, major situation, something happened in the news today, Fox will wait a day or two to air it, to background it, to make sure that what they're reporting is the truth.
That's correct.
The others don't. They make up what they want to, and
They do
that's why everybody's going to Fox.
And then you can't and then these people wonder why they don't seem to understand why people aren't watching. I mean, I don't how stupid do you have to be?
Well, the marketing. I mean, when you get down to 400,000 watchers, how are you going to sell any advertising to keep your doors open?
Well, correct. That's right.
CNN, MSNBC, they're losing the market share so bad. Well, if you're a company wanting to advertise, you're definitely not going to use them because your money's better spent somewhere else.
That's right. Absolutely. Now, this also happened today, and this is kind of sort of dovetails into what we're talking about. What is it called? The Health and Human Services
Hmm.
Department that Robert F. Kennedy is running. They have officially taken COVID vaccines off the recommended vaccine list for children and pregnant women, and that gets down. The reason I think this dovetails into is because we were just completely utterly lied to by these people, and by these people I mean
Yes.
the legacy media, about the fact that these, first of all, it's been proven now the booster shots for the vaccine simply didn't work. I mean,
Mm.
they made, we can debate whether they were actually harmful, but they did. We know for a fact now they did not actually work. So I'm listening to Hannity in the car this afternoon, and Hannity's a really good interviewer. He's good at this sort of stuff. Guy has had enough practice, God bless him. But he's talking about the fact that what is he talking about? Maybe somebody should shoot me and put me out to pasture. Uh, he's they were talking about the fact that God damn it, what the hell is wrong with me? Help me.
Okay. The more gray hair you get, the more the memory goes, and I
It's
understand
unbelievable.
that
It's
tremendously.
unbelievable. It's terrible. I mean,
Well, let's take a look at the pandemic. Okay, when you see these major issues come up, okay, the pandemic. Now let's go back to the housing bubble burst. Okay,
yeah,
what's the timing of these? Any time that you have a huge critical situation, look at the timing.
like what do
Okay,
you mean? What do
that
you?
well, the housing bubble. Okay, George Bush, when he got into office in 2000, told Congress that they needed to fix Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac because the bubble was going to burst, and it held off and it held off. Well, when did it burst? It burst 2 months before the 2008 election.
Yeah,
Okay, so now let's go to the pandemic. The pandemic happened what, the year before the election?
right. Not
Okay,
even a year before, 6 months.
look
Right.
Right. Look at the timing on
Yeah.
all of these. When you have a major calamity, immediately look at the timing. That will tell you whether this is created or natural.
Yeah.
Okay. The housing bubble, they knew it was coming. They knew it was coming. And 2 months before the election, the bubble burst. We're all in an uproar, and Obama wins the election. Okay. So now we've got the pandemic, you know, right before the election. Okay. Trump, everybody keeps blaming Trump, blaming Trump, blaming Trump, and he loses the election. I don't think he lost the election, but
Yeah. I
okay,
don't
for all
either.
intent and purposes, he lost it. Okay,
Right.
so let's look at the timing on that. Let's look at now. Let's go back and look at where it originated. Who was in? Who had their fingers in the pie when it originated, and where from? And it begins to stink to high heaven. You
Now,
had
I,
you
I,
had
I
6
got to
months or
stop you for a second because this dovetails exactly into what you're talking about. So I had a woman on last week. Her name is Miriam Hanane. She's written a book called it's about George Floyd. It's called I can't remember. I can't even remember the title of it. His name's on the title, but she did years of research on this. This last week was a 5-year anniversary of that,
right.
and her book is like 480 pages long. It's hugely long. But just to wrap up what she said, now I always thought, and you're talking about now the pandemic too. I'm always thought that what happened here, I would say that all right, China screwed up, or more likely deliberately released this, and the Democrats just decided to grab it and use as an excuse, right? And I thought the same thing with George Floyd. I thought this guy, he's just a common criminal, just a common thug, and he was not killed. I mean, that's the thing. The the coroner himself has said that Derek Chauvin didn't kill George Floyd. George Floyd died of a drug overdose. It's just very,
Right.
very coincidental that this guy had his knee on his neck. But she says that according to the copious research she's done, she said the whole thing from beginning to end was in a very elaborate setup, except George Floyd was not supposed to die. She said it was a setup by the Democrats and Black Lives Matter. So, in other words, it was all planned ahead of time, except the fact that George Floyd wasn't supposed to die. And the fact that he died, of course, even made it even better, for what they were trying to accomplish, And so, I sometimes wonder about, I mean, I told a friend of mine about this, about her theory, and he just thought that was crazy, and you'd have to think that, it sounds crazy, but the problem is everything I hear that's crazy ends up coming true.
Yes. Yes. Well, look at Brown in St. Louis, when the deputy shot
Yeah,
Brown.
right.
Okay. I mean, Brown was trying to take his gun
Yeah,
and weighed 100 and some pounds more than the officer. The officer fired in, trying to defend his life. Okay. And there was a little uproar in St. Louis, but it took 2 days for the Soros protesters to make it to St. Louis. This wasn't pre-planned. It was an opportunity, but it took 2 days for all the out-of-town rioters to show up and turn it into a huge major mess.
right.
Okay. It was not not generic riots. These were imported rioters. Okay. When you have a pallet of bricks delivered and set on the street under an overpass for rioters to use, that's not spontaneous.
No, it isn't. And the same
Okay.
thing happened here in Minneapolis too. They were
Right.
delivered bricks.
Correct.
They
Correct.
were
It was
delivering bricks.
not spontaneous. Okay.
I always
So
think here in Minneapolis, I said George Floyd was killed or died on a Monday afternoon. I said
right.
everyone has to be, May 25th. Well, and I was working at Clock News at this point. What's going to happen? I said, well, on Wednesday, there's going to be a huge riot. And they said, well, why not tomorrow? And I said, well, because it's going to take Antifa 24 hours to get here. That's exactly what
Correct.
happened. Right.
Yes.
No, but, the level of planning, I can't say I disagree, that I disagree with her per se. And also, she's done a ridiculous amount of research. But it's hard to imagine the fact that they planned this all from the beginning to the end, except the fact that he was not supposed to actually die. That was not expected.
Well, he was high on dope. He was higher
Yeah,
than a kite.
he was.
Okay.
That's right. Exactly.
And if you've been a police officer and ever dealt with anybody that's high, okay, there is no controlling them. They have superhuman strength because they don't know pain. Okay.
Yeah.
And to control George Floyd, they had to take what, 4 officers, 5, however
There were
many there
4
was,
officers.
to
Yeah.
to try to subdue him, to control him because he was far above the strength that he normally would have. He was high.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
And so no, they weren't at fault. If you watch the video and you watch the whole thing and you learn about it, no, the police officers weren't at fault. They were a scapegoat to make
Yeah.
Black Lives Matter and Antifa to make them happy and to give them an excuse to riot and destroy property.
But the terrible thing is, now you got a guy in prison for an he's a scapegoat and he's in prison.
Correct.
It's
Correct.
completely
He
unfair.
didn't do anything wrong.
Right. This is the
Okay.
thing, like in Ferguson, the thing with Brown, the whole thing about harms up, don't shoot, turned out to be complete and utter falsification.
That's correct.
That did not happen at all.
Correct.
And
That's
the
correct.
people who were there that saw it finally admitted it, but they
Yeah.
admitted it way after the fact. I've said this before. You've been involved in law enforcement most of your life. The only single one of these guys that, as far as I can tell, who was truly, truly railroaded was Fernando Castile here in Falcon Heights, Minnesota. But the weird thing about that, and you think about this, Larry, is he ended up getting the least amount of attention. That's the thing I found.
Yeah.
All the rest of it was manufactured. For Fernando Castile truly was screwed. He really was. But
Hmm.
I don't understand. You'd think if you're going to jump on an example, that would be the perfect example to jump on. But no one ever really played that up. And I just think, well, what's going on here? Other than that, they end up manufacturing these things, and then they actually get one that's real, and they don't seem to give a crap. I don't understand. It's like, is that because they didn't plan it? I mean,
It's crazy, and I really I kind of feel sorry for the new FBI and um, the people that work there because they're having to go back and unravel all of these misinformation situations. But the FBI is investigating all of these and going back and looking at all these. And the FBI, under the former administration, who was complicit in all of this, um, the the FBI we have now is going to be investigating each one of these things. Okay, and we're going to get the truth one of these days. It's going to take a while because there was documents shredded and files destroyed and deleted. It's going to take a while to get down to the bottom of this, but I think you will see a lot come out, and you're going to see a lot of fingers pointed back at the people that created this
well,
problem.
we already know that Black Lives Matter, the organization, was a complete boondoggle. I mean, all these people
Sure,
they made their $100 million and they ran off and bought big houses. I mean,
sure.
you know, the last I heard, at their published address, there is no office there. It's literally an empty office. They don't,
Yeah,
they don't,
yeah.
it's just a scam. That's all it is.
Hey,
Now-
Craigslist had advertising offering to pay people to come to riot and, show up in this town or that town, and we'll pay you so much a day to
right,
riot and cause all kinds of problems, and
right,
people were taking advantage of that.
yeah,
Um, you're seeing the same thing now on the college campuses. When the police finally do go in and break up these riots on the college campuses, 80% of these people that are rioting aren't even going to school there.
yeah,
So
right.
it's all set up. It's all
Although
set up.
I do have to let's talk about that, because I do have to wonder about that. My guess is, I'm going to guess about the writers on campus, especially in New York City on the East Coast. I'm guessing about half of them are paid, but the other half are just really truly doofuses that actually think they're getting something accomplished.
Well,
And
that's true, and
that's
unfortunately,
yeah,
yeah.
that's the problem you have now.
And I've been in marketing most of my life, and the number one rule of marketing is one third of the people are going to believe anything, regardless of how ridiculous it is.
Right, that's correct.
That's just marketing. Okay, they'll suck down anything. So yes, you're going to have a certain number there. Now we're finding out that Hamas and Iran are funding a lot of these and importing the people over here that are creating these riots
Right,
and leading these riots. When you get to looking at the fact that Hamas, we know what they are. When Hamas has got people implanted in these colleges to create this, and they're funding all of this, plus they're funding the colleges, they're sending money to the colleges so that all of these people can come over here and attend college, and they're not here to attend college. They're here to cause problems,
right.
riots in the street. We've
And
talked about that before.
there's something about the liberal personality that wants to blame the victim. And Hamas said, when they went into Israel on October 7th, they said they knew that by attacking Israel, Israel will get blamed. And that's exactly what, as
Sure,
far as these kids
sure.
are concerned, it's exact. And I've never been able to understand this. I mean, I've noticed it since I was a kid, that for some reason the victims always seem to get blamed for their own misfortune. It just seemed crazy to me, but it happens constantly.
Hamas went in. Hamas went into Israel after they had embedded their people here at the colleges because these kids are standing around with their eyes open, their mouth open, and sucking down everything that's being given to them.
Yeah.
So, and I love these kids, and they're fine, but their brain hasn't developed yet, and they're, when what is it, 90%, 96% of Harvard instructors are all left wing liberals.
Right.
It's what do you expect, So, yeah, it's Hamas and Iran have embedded the people in here. It's been happening for years. I mean, look, when Hillary Clinton can be a college instructor, it's going to go south. So, yeah.
Yeah, but okay, but you love the kids. God bless you. Uh, here's my problem with all this. Now, we're about the same age. I don't know about you, but I look back when I was in my 20s, which was now 50 years ago, and we were pretty fucking stupid. you know, that's what
Oh
I.
yeah.
Yeah, right. But
Mhm.
I look at these kids, and I'm thinking they're even stupider than we were. And now that,
Well,
yeah, go ahead. No,
yeah,
go ahead.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know that they are, and we have to be careful because we fall into this trap that 2 or 3% of the population that gets all of the media coverage,
Yeah,
we tend to think that's why everybody is. Okay,
right.
and it's not,
But
you
but
know.
Larry, it's been consistently measured now by psychologists, and whether you want to put,
Mhm.
yeah, you can laugh at that, but that these kids are significantly more narcissistic than we were, like 6 times more
Sure.
apparently.
Yeah, I
You
I
know,
agree with that.
Okay, so that's a problem, and I'm wondering if the reason the kids are so narcissistic is frankly that we just have too much goddamn money floating around America. There's too many people are raised basically, for lack of a better term, problem free. And if you don't have any problems, and you go off to college, if your biggest problem was what your girlfriend did the night before, and you go off to college and you have some a professor telling you, these people over in Gaza are oppressed, it's easy to
Yeah.
latch onto that to give your life some meaning, quote unquote.
Well, I call it the third generation syndrome.
Yeah,
The first generation gets out there, they don't have anything, they work hard, they make a lot of money, they do well, their kids see them. So the second generation is going to work and carry that on.
right,
But by the time you get to the third generation, now we're giving our kids have everything. They don't need for anything, any money they want, cars, whatever. And so they think it's free money. They don't work.
right.
Uh,
I
and
have to
so
stop you for a second. My accountant says she has represented or worked for hundreds of family businesses, and she says that's exactly what happens almost every single time. It's a
yeah,
third generation that completely screws it up. The second
right.
generation, just like you said, they see their parents working really hard, and then they take
Mhm.
over the business and they work pretty hard too. They do an okay job. The third generation screws it up because all it's free money for them. That's what she said. She
Yeah,
said
and the second
seen it
generation,
time and time
they
again.
feel sorry. They want to do for their kids. They want their kids to have more things than they had growing up, and
Yeah,
it's a natural human characteristic. But yeah,
right.
it's a third generation statistic. Yeah.
And
So,
so, I think that's why these kids are so damn narcissistic. What do you think?
well, I think a lot of it is now throw a little monkey wrench in that. We're seeing now some of the studies coming out showing that today's youth coming into college are more conservative and right leaning,
Yes.
Republican leaning. So the pendulum's swinging the other direction.
Right, you're talking about
So,
Gen Z, the actual really the young kids, the
yeah, whatever
teenagers
that
right now.
means.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
know, but yeah. Yeah, it's kind of the millennials and the Gen X that people that kinda getting the blame right now, but it does seem like the young really young kids and the teenagers do seem to be significantly more conservative than previous generations. That
Well,
seems to be true.
my 7-year-old grandson sits around here. He watches the news, okay, and he sees Harris, run, and she gets on TV, and he looks at me and he says, "Well, she's just stupid." Yeah. Well, okay.
You
70
know,
years old. He can see it.
right?
Okay. It
Yeah.
doesn't take, rocket scientists to figure that
No,
out.
it doesn't.
That's what they're looking at. Okay.
Yeah.
And somebody said something on the news the other day, and I thought about it, and it's true. Trump has taken the center right and has thrown the hoop of his skirt over the center left of the country and have brought all them together.
Yeah.
And you're left with the left leaning, ridiculous, liberal screaming meanies that are out there trying to get all the headlines and on TV all the time. And we tend to fall into that trap thinking, well, that 1% of the population is saying this, and well, that must be what the whole country thinks, but it's not. It's it's not this
Well,
trans thing and school thing, and it's just the percentage of the population that believe that way and want to fight for that are so small and minuscule. They're not the majority of the people.
I
How
still, I
how
still,
are you going to get
yeah.
80 and 90% of the public that agree with Trump on his philosophies in certain things? 80 to 90% of the
Yeah,
public agree
I
with
know
him
that.
on things.
I know. And
The
not only that, a lot of
border,
these people agree with the policies, but they actually say they don't like him as a person, which I actually take as a positive thing. You don't have to like your president as long as you think he's doing
right.
a good job. 50% of the people
Well,
still say they don't like him.
yeah,
But
I
you're
I
right.
mean,
The
I
80%,
always heard and raised up where I don't care what you say, your actions
yeah.
speak speak for what you are.
But
Okay?
if you look back at the last 10, 15 years, this is a relatively new phenomena. Up till
Oh,
recently,
absolutely. It's
yeah,
new in the last 8 years.
right. That's
You
right.
know, when he came down the escalator in 2016, the Republicans didn't want him either.
No, that's right. Absolutely.
And look at those rhinos, what we call rhinos, Republicans in name only. Okay, where are they? Most of them are gone.
Yeah.
Very few
Although,
of them are left.
let me ask you about that, though. This big, beautiful bill that's plowing through
Yeah.
Congress now in the Senate. There seems to be the big complaint among many Republicans is that it doesn't cut enough. And I hope that, and that's the thing. And Trump actually addressed this. I don't know, he's on a tarmac today or he's talking to reporters about the fact that he said, well, I'm not really pleased with all of it either, but it's better than nothing. And so I don't. And then Rand Paul gets on television. He says, "No, that's not good enough anymore. We have to really cut this thing and nip this in the bud, or else the whole damn republic's going to fall down." And I don't know, where are you on this? Because I don't know what to think.
Well, when you are in a situation where things are as bad as they were 6 months or a year ago, okay, when things are as bad as they are, and you try to fix it all in one fell swoop, you're liable to land on your face.
Yeah,
So you're better to take it a couple of steps at a time to make sure that you're going the right direction. Um, and so I agree that it didn't go as far as some of us would like, but I think that's a good thing because we've got next year to fix
yeah,
some more things, and then the next year to fix even more. That taking those small steps in the right direction will bring you out of the haze.
yeah.
That
And
I fully believe that.
I never
Now,
thought about this till you actually mentioned it too. They basically, a year from now, they have to have their ducks in a row so that they can win the midterms. And if they win the midterms, then yeah, they have a whole 4 years to get something accomplished here. So maybe you're right. I mean, that's probably a better way to look at
how
it.
do you not win the midterms with the Democrats falling all over themselves and being so stupid all across the board? I, I mean,
Well, but
I I'm not worried about it a whole lot.
I'm not either a whole lot, but the thing is, midterms are mostly personality driven elections on a local level. So, there's a lot of that's the reason there's the Republicans only have a two-person majority in the House. I mean, a lot of these people get elected in their districts because people like them or know them or whatever.
All elections are local. All elections are local. Everybody needs to remember that. Every election is local, even for the president. It it is local. The way that our system is set up with counties, with precincts, everything is won locally.
Yeah.
Every election, down to the county commissioner, the mayor, and the dog catcher.
Yeah.
It Everything is local. So we have to remember that, and we have to take that into account. So all of these ridiculous Democrats that are standing up and saying this most stupid thing in the world are just giving more ammunition for their opponents in their district. And I just, it would shock me tremendously if we didn't continue down the road we're going.
Larry, I saw a really interesting statistic the other day. I just found this really fascinating. The guy put this in this article for that reason too. There's like 3,200 counties in the United States.
Yeah.
In this last election, only 52 of them, the Democratic vote increased.
Right.
52 out of 3,200.
Right. Correct. Okay. Well,
yeah, and I just want to be clear here to the viewers. We're not talking about the fact that these all slipped Republican. It's just that there was
the movement.
Right, the movement. There was only the Republican vote increased in all of them except 52 out of 32.
Correct. Percentage. Yeah. That's correct. Okay. I've got friends of mine that are Republicans, and they hated Trump, but they loved what he did. They didn't like his personality. They didn't like what he said, but they love what he does. Okay. What you say goes in one ear and out the other. What you do tells the tale to me. Okay. That proves to me who you are and what you are, not the blabber that we all speak. So that you're seeing that pay off.
I'm going to come totally full circle here. I just remembered what it was that I had my brain fart about 15 minutes ago about the fact that the drug companies made $6 billion off of those COVID boosters, not the vaccine, the boosters. They made $6 billion off of worthless boosters. They didn't work.
Sure.
Well, that's a good way to make a living.
And the people that were behind the COVID fiasco, okay, they're part of those were pharmaceutical CEOs and some very high hitters. If you go back and I read an article somewhere, there was a meeting in New York City, and was the Clintons, and was the CEOs of Google and a lot of other high influence people who had this meeting 3 months before COVID came out, trying to figure out what to do to win the election.
Yeah.
3 months later, COVID comes out. Yeah, that's my investigator looking at it. Cause and effect. You gotta wonder what all happened there.
I put my conspiracy hat on, and I've come to the conclusion. We've talked about this before, that I think the Chinese released this deliberately as an experiment. But now it's never occurred to me that maybe they did it because somebody from the U.S. called them and asked them to. That's never occurred to me.
Who moved that center, that disease and the COVID vaccine center, from Ukraine to China? Okay. What was the guy's name?
I actually don't know. No.
You don't?
No.
Who was your chief health person at that time?
That wasn't Dr. Fauci, was it?
Dr. Fauci. Dr. Fauci's lab was in Ukraine. Dr. Fauci and his organization moved it to Wuhan. Go back and look that up. You'll
I'm sure
find
you're
out
right.
that Fauci was involved in that the entire way, from the time it left Ukraine till it got established in Wuhan, China. Okay, he was integral. Moved his money, our government taxpayer money, went to Wuhan lab. Okay, and I'm sorry, but when you talk about a conspiracy means that more than one person was involved in planning.
That's right.
Okay. And
Right.
a theory means that there is a theory of a crime that you have to investigate. Conspiracy theory does not mean it's all false and just made up. Okay. The term conspiracy theory is a legitimate term. We have transferred that phrase, conspiracy theory, to mean something that's totally not true.
Yeah, or
That's
actually
wrong.
a negative connotation, really.
That's correct.
Yeah.
No, it is not negative. It simply means that there was a conspiracy. More than one person was involved in the planning of it, and a theory is a theory on how it happened, which may or may not be true.
Yeah.
So it, yeah, I go look at the evidence, follow the evidence all the way down.
And here you got a guy who had the same job. He was the head. Now he was not the head of the CDC. He was the head of the National Institute for Infectious Diseases, was actually what he was
Correct.
head of. But he had
That's
the same
correct.
job for 37 years. How long have
Right.
you ever had a job for 37 years?
No.
Very few people do.
Mm-mm.
And yet it happens in Washington all the time. I just found out just the other day that Chuck Schumer he's been in the House or in the Senate. No, he was a congressman before he was a senator, but he's been in Washington for 46 years. And he was in the New York State Assembly before that. He's actually been he's had an elected position for 50 years, and he's never had a he's never had a normal job. Never
That's
had one.
correct.
Yeah.
That's
Same with
correct.
Bernie Sanders. Same with Bernie Sanders.
Let's go back and talk about this big beautiful bill. Okay.
Yeah.
How many years has it been since seen the Democrats not vote in 100% lockstep?
That's a good question. I don't know. How long has it been?
It's been since back in the late 2000s.
Oh,
Okay.
I was
2005, maybe even before that.
Yeah, I was going to go back to the 90s. I thought maybe.
But you still had Democrats that stood up and disagreed with their party on this or that.
Uh-huh.
Okay, that disappeared. You're talking about Republicans you've got dissenters saying the big beautiful bill didn't go far enough, or they didn't like this or that on it, and they don't vote for it. Okay, you haven't had that with the Democrats. They are not free thinkers. They are not independent people.
That's absolutely true.
It doesn't matter what the subject is. They vote 100% in lockstep, period.
Right.
I have a problem with that. I don't care what the subject is. You've got to have disagreement to get anything done, and not one party versus the other. Those are individuals. Those are individual congressmen and senators. Okay. Are they not free thinkers? Are they not allowed to do what they think is best? I don't think they are, because you haven't seen a dissenter in the Democratic Party for 15 years.
Well, it's a hive mentality, Larry. I mean, they think like bees, And I also think I will make the argument that the fact that Republicans do dissent is both a blessing and a curse, because on the other hand, like you said, that's the way it should work. People should vote their conscience and talk about what they think. On the other hand, because this happens, a lot of times we lose votes, So it's like,
if the Republicans were able to control every single member of their party, then why do we even need discussions? We'll just bring up a bill, vote it through, have it done, and gone. Okay.
That's right. Yeah.
Um, that's what the Democrats did. Okay.
Right.
So we've still got that and semblance, and we now have more people in the Republican Party that feel free enough that they can stand up and say, I disagree with that. I don't think that's right. We need to go back to the drawing table and work on it. Okay. You do not see that in the Democratic Party.
All right. I will throw something out here. Here's an idea.
Okay.
I
All
can
right.
see the Democratic Party actually splintering at this point because like we've mentioned before, like you were talking earlier, basically right now it's being controlled by the 20% of the fringe of the party. So 80% of the people, the basically what I will call moderate liberals, right? Who
Mm-hmm.
reasonable people are letting their party being run by a bunch of lunatics. And at
Right.
some point, I believe it or not, I don't know. I don't think it's going to be the moderate people who are going to try to break away. I think the lunatic fringe will try to break away and will splinter the party in half. We might end up with three parties. I think that could
No,
happen.
I don't think it'll splinter in half because if the lunatic fringe splits off, you're only going to have 20,
Right.
25%
And
of the
yes,
Democrats
I
gone.
misspoke. I misspoke. I
Yeah,
didn't actually
and
mean it.
I
Yeah.
understand what you're saying.
Right.
I don't believe that the lunatic fringe is that big a percentage of the Democratic Party.
You don't, hold it.
And,
You don't think it's 20%?
well, I mean, uh, the the free thinking and centrist Democrats you can't count in that fringe now. So
Yeah.
you may be right. You may be right that that when you're talking about the fringe left. Okay. I think there's a tremendous number, just like the country. There's a tremendous number of Democrats who don't agree with this fringe, ridiculous philosophy, but they can't say anything for
Yeah.
whatever reason. However this thing's been set up, whether Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer and all of their minions have that much of a stranglehold on every single Democrat in Congress and the Senate. I don't. I I think they're losing that quickly. Like I said, I think that Donald Trump has cast the umbrella of the Republican Party, and maybe not necessarily. I shouldn't say the Republican Party, but his philosophies have cast an umbrella over a tremendous number of Democrats that want to be in that agree with him. So I think we've seen a tremendous transformation of political parties, probably the greatest that we've ever seen in our lifetime.
Oh, for sure.
You
Absolutely.
know,
But
and
just to your point though, and people don't really realize this. The single biggest issue that polls best for Trump, which he has the highest approval rating, is, believe it or not, the trans issue. And that's the issue that the lunatic left wants to actually like build their pyre of
correct,
fire on. It's really hilarious. Like 80% of the public, including the vast majority of Democrats, think this is wrong. The fact that men playing in women's sports, the vast majority of people think it's wrong, and yet they are still going to town on this. It's like this is not a way to win the hearts and minds, folks. It isn't.
no. Let's take a look at kitchen table issues. Okay, the border. Okay, 90% of the people want the border closed.
Yeah,
80% of the population want the illegals gone.
yeah.
Okay,
Matter of fact,
that's an 80-20 issue.
I'm going to
Okay,
cut to the chase here. Do you know the only issue that Trump is pulling underwater right now? It's the Gulf of America. That's the only one.
well, those are things that take years and
Well, yeah.
decades.
Not only that, it's pretty unimportant too. So yeah,
Correct,
we renamed
correct.
something. Big
Now
deal.
you got gas prices down below
Right.
what they've been in 4
Yeah,
years.
that's right.
You've got eggs that are way down. Groceries, for the most part, are way down, except when you go to McDonald's and buy that high dollar hamburger. But you know that the economics, he's already had an effect, and we've been 120 days.
Yeah,
That's it. You
that's right.
know,
No,
um, So think about what's going to happen over the next couple of years.
There's people who have said,
Um,
and I agree with this, that the closing of the border that rapidly is one of the most historic things in politics that's happened in this country ever. Just in the history of the republic, the fact that they basically closed the border in a month for all practical purposes. You know,
and they didn't do anything except follow the existing laws.
yeah,
That's
right.
it. That's all they did.
Hey, we
You
have a
know.
call. We have a caller, Larry. Here, people want to talk to
Okay.
you. Hold on a second. Hi, who's this? Hello.
Hey, this is Think. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
How's it
Hey,
going, guys?
Think. Nice for you calling. Hey, I got to tell you again. On the auto screen, you came up again as Stink. That
It's
amuses
probably
me.
the proper name.
Yeah, I don't know. I can't understand you or something. Anyway, nice of you to call, man. How are you doing?
Great. Can I jump in here and say something real quick
Of course
about
you can.
what you guys been talking about, Democrats? Oh my God, I cannot believe this. So just to let you guys know my name, I call myself Think for Yourself. I
Yeah.
strongly believe that we should think for ourselves. We should do our own research. So, anyways, our RFK was on a CNN interview, and he says that we shouldn't listen to our physicians fully. We should do our own research. We should do more research on what's happening. Just don't listen blindly to it. And that was what he said on the show. So Brian Stelter, another CNN show, comes on, and TV shows now, they listen to the show previously and they break it down. And this is what he says: it's dangerous to do your own research.
Oh, of course it is. Right.
You
That's
should
right.
not.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
Right.
How can you say that?
Because
They're
you're supposed to
saying it's dangerous.
think we're supposed to listen to him. That's why. He knows best. He knows best what's best for you. You know that.
And that's the thing. The Democrats think that they know best and tell us what we need to be thinking.
Right.
That's totally against what we need to be doing.
Not to mention the fact they're almost always wrong. There's that too. Let alone the concept or on principle, they're actually usually wrong. So you listen to him then, right? Think you're going to listen to Brian Stelter? No, you're not.
Hell no. I don't listen to CNN at all. It's gotten to the point where it's everything that comes out of them is straight up to me. It's BS.
Yeah.
I don't understand. None of it seems factual.
Well, you're not. I don't know if you heard earlier. I don't know if you heard earlier, Think, but we were talking about that. Their ratings went down again last month. I mean, it's just they're heading toward the floor. They're at their primetime viewership is now at 400,000 people, and then now you're talking about local TV news. I mean, it's like that's unbelievable. So you're not the only person who's not listening to them.
Think I'm glad you called in. Think I'm glad you called in and made that point. It's so important. What the point that you're making, to think for yourself. That's absolutely wonderful. Now we can disagree, but when you think for yourself, that's how you get things accomplished. That's how you move things forward.
Exactly. Hey, do you guys know what Lorenzo's oil is? Have you ever heard of that?
Yeah,
Lorenzo's oil?
I need a reminder. I've heard of it, but I can't remember what it is. What is it, Think?
Okay, so there was a family that had a kid with I don't know what it is. Is it epilepsy, where the kid sits in the chair and their fingers or their hand curls down and they can't move? I forgot what that. It happens to kids. So there was this family that had a child that was that way, and they went to the different doctors to try to find a cure for it. And honestly, this is the truth. Doctors get paid to act like they care. They're paid to do that. And some doctors do care, but they don't go extreme. So these families went to different doctors, and it was basically the same excuse. There's no cure for this. And this family kept researching deeper and deeper. And eventually they created this oil called Lorenzo's oil. And that oil out of their own research. They went to this was way back in the 80s or something, like maybe even the 70s.
Yeah.
They had to go to different libraries. There was no Google. They went to different libraries and different Amazon tribes and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And they discovered that there was an extract from olive oil that could actually cure some of this child disease. And they created the oil called Lorenzo's oil. And it helped their child move a little bit. And that's because this family didn't just take the advice of the doctor. They did their own research. They took it a little bit further. And that's what makes a person so great, that they can think for themselves, that they can do their own research, and that they don't have to accept the final these answers as the final solution. Does that make sense what I just said?
Yeah,
so
totally.
Absolutely, yes.
We shouldn't listen. Go ahead. I'm sorry, guys.
No. But your point is well taken, especially considering the source there. Brian Stelter is a moron. I mean, I'm just going to come straight out and say it. This guy has said so much stupid stuff over the last few years is mind-boggling. And he's not off television, but he doesn't have a show anymore, and I'm actually glad. It's like he shouldn't. It's like,
I think what you're saying is so correct. I have chaired boards and committees and different businesses for years. And one of the things that I always said was, number one, you leave your personal involvement at the door. You're there to work for the company or the group or corporation, whatever you're there to help make decisions for. Secondly, I do not want a board of directors or a committee where everybody agrees. You don't gain anything. You don't move forward. You don't progress and make things better when everybody sits around and agrees on everything. That disagreement is what builds companies. It builds organizations. Disagreement. That you sit down and you talk about your disagreements, and that's how you come up with better solutions. Think for yourself. That's wonderful.
And the converse to that, Larry, is fake diversity. So, you get a bunch of, okay, so we're supposed to have a certain number of black people and women in the room. That doesn't mean they think different. I mean, right now, if you're a black Republican, you're basically and Democrats basically think you're like an oddity. I mean, that doesn't count as diversity, and it should.
I don't care anything about the color of somebody's skin or what sex they are. Okay, and everybody has the ability to think and to come up with ideas and to work hard and make things better. So the color of your skin or what sex you are has absolutely no place in my way of thinking. I don't care.
Even the women with giant knockers.
They got a great personality, I mean, what?
Oh my God, I just took this into the dumper. It's terrible. I'm terrible. Yeah. Why do you guys know me? You shouldn't know me. Think, are you still there? Hello?
Yeah. There's so many examples that I could use, that I could say where we, I'm just, so earlier you were talking about McDonald's and all these fast food chains, right?
Yeah.
Here's another example. There was a guy that made this movie called Super Size Me. Do you know?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I know exactly. And his name, I can't even remember his name. It was Morgan. Not Freeman. Anyway, he died just recently. I don't know if you know that. He passed away.
Oh no.
Yeah, he did.
Oh really?
Yeah. About a few months ago. Yeah. Yeah. The guy who made that movie. Okay. I cannot remember. Oh, was it Morgan Spurlock? I think that was his name. I think. Yep. Anyway. Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Wow. I did not know that. Wow. Yeah. People are just dying. Well, anyway, he made this movie called Super Size Me. And in the movie, he did this I don't know how long it was. Was it 6 months or something like that, where he only ate at McDonald's?
Yeah.
And he was showing that he was trying to show that eating at McDonald's is dangerous for your health. So he went to the doctor, and the doctor said did research on his body, and then after 6 months, it came out that he wasn't healthy because he was eating at McDonald's every day.
Right.
However, after a few years, an actual nutritionist did the same exact study. And here's the crazy thing. After his 6 months, he was healthier. And all he did that was different from Morgan Spurlock's thing was that he followed the FDA's rules, where you eat under 2,000 calories. And you also exercise.
Right.
And that's all it was. So basically, he came up with this new diet called the Twinkies diet, which is you could eat whatever the hell you want as long as you keep it under 2,000 calories and you exercise. It doesn't matter what you eat, right?
Yeah,
that's all it is.
Now I've never actually seen this movie, but what I understand is that Spurlock had very specific rules. Like, for example, if he went to the drive-through and the person and the drive-through runner said, "Do you want to?" Well, that's where the title of the movie comes from. Do you want to supersize your order? He had to say yes. There was all sorts of stuff like this, and then he had to order certain foods on certain days. He had very specific rules, and you're saying that basically the other guy came to the conclusion, well, if it's under 2,000 calories and I exercise it, the rules don't even matter, right?
That's correct.
Yeah.
Morgan, what he did was he ate 3 times a day. He ate 3 times a day at McDonald's. A Happy Meal is, or not a Happy Meal, a Big Mac meal at McDonald's, I think is like 1,200 calories.
Yeah, I think you're right. It's 1,200 calories. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
And he would eat 3 of these a day.
Yeah.
3 of these. So he was eating almost 4,000 calories. And he wasn't exercising. He would eat and then go home and edit the video that he made that day. He was not exercising, and all he was just intaking calories.
I think
so. It doesn't matter.
I think the technical term for that is fat fuck. You're going to get very fat if you do that. There's no way around it. 4,000 calories a day. I mean, my nephew was a real high powered athlete, and he was eating 5,000 calories a day because he had to, and he didn't even enjoy it. He didn't like eating that much.
Yeah.
It's like, so I don't know.
Well, I think our bodies are very very unique things when you think about it, and we can metabolize a lot of different things. I think that the thing that RFK is bringing to the forefront is the number of ingredients that are not natural, that are in some of this fast food. They don't use it in other countries. It's been banned. But we here in the United States just keep on using all of these ingredients.
Yeah.
And I think, changes like that that he's making, I think are going to be beneficial to us. I'm not a nutritionist, and I'm not a doctor. So, I don't know a lot about what our discussion is here. But it just makes sense that our bodies are unique and can really metabolize a lot of different things. Now, what I didn't know was how much petroleum products are going into our food now.
Well,
that doesn't make sense.
Specifically plastic? There's been a lot of
well, yeah, I mean, they use petroleum to make plastic, but there's a lot of molecular products that are not natural food products that we can't metabolize.
Yeah.
That are going into our foods, and I think he's on the right track to, especially on our younger kids that eat a lot of this fast food stuff. I think it's a good thing to get healthier food overall. So and this, now that we're talking about JFK, I want to bring up something else we talked about a while ago. How many Democrats or former Democrats are in the cabinet or in the administration now?
Oh yeah, it's about a quarter of them. At least
At least,
four. I
yeah.
can name four off the top of my head. Right.
It's just it's amazing the coalition that he's bringing together, and that's
Yeah.
what I say. He's surrounding himself with people on both sides of the aisle, that want to come together and make things better.
I don't know about
So
you
yeah,
guys.
it's just amazing.
I have Democratic friends, liberal friends of mine. They hate Robert F. Kennedy's guts, and they will. One of my friends will tell you it's because he thinks that his ideas about vaccinations are crazy. But the thing is, most people don't even know really what he thinks. I mean, his thoughts on that is quite nuanced and hard to sum up. And I think he gets a bad rap on that, even though there's a couple
He
things.
gets a very bad rap on
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
I don't necessarily agree myself, but the thing is, it's at least it's well thought out anyway.
Well, his opinion is that you need information, and then when it comes to vaccinations for your children, he thinks that parents should be the ones making the decision. Now,
Yeah,
who's going to disagree with that? Okay.
right,
All he's wanting is for everybody to have access to all the information about these things. He has never said he's anti-vax. That was the media that
right. No,
spun that
that
way.
was the media. That's right. They're
So
spinning the ridiculous stories they're trying to
the
discredit them.
reason that he is hated so much is because he has embraced the Republican president.
Right, that's right.
That his
Both,
family turned against him.
yeah,
The Democrats just hate him because, you know, when you get a sports player who goes and visits the president and gets slapped down by the left wing media because he dared go to the White House or to Mar-a-Lago.
yeah.
That's just people being totally crazy.
But like you alluded to before, Larry, is like no people really are starting not to care about this anymore. It's like I mean they're doing it and think you were saying the same thing about like watching CNN. They're still pulling this shit, but people still really have basically started ignoring it.
Oh, the best promoters for the new Republican Party are Hakeem Jeffries, OAC or whatever her name is, and
The
this
bartender.
gal, yeah, and the gal from Texas.
Yeah.
All those three are the best promoters for Republicans that you and I could ever dream up.
Yeah, I know. I don't see how anyone can take Jasmine Crockett seriously, and yet
No,
no, she's just an imbecile.
well,
I,
AOC is the same thing.
yeah.
She's
The thing about
a
AOC,
bartender.
the same thing about AOC is she is the patina of a smart person. She isn't. She's a moron, but she looks like one.
She
Jasmine
looks like
Crockett,
one until she opens her mouth. Yeah.
yeah, Jasmine Crockett just like looks just crazy. I mean, she's
Yeah.
nuts, but the AOC actually,
Jeffries, he's just, I
yeah,
mean, he's ridiculous.
no, he is. I totally agree. You still there? Think?
I personally can't stand Ian Omar. Do you know who she is?
Oh,
She's
Oh yeah,
oh my
I
Oh,
agree with you.
she was
think
she was on CNN the other day, and she said that that Caucasian men have caused the majority of deaths.
Oh, that's
here in
right.
America.
I know.
And
I
I'm
know.
not. That's unbelievable shit. How can anyone say that and get away with it?
Think
What the
she is. She's a representative in my district here, where I'm sitting right now.
We talked about this earlier in the show, and we were talking about when Hamas and Iran have sent people over here to infiltrate and create all kinds of havoc. There's your perfect example.
Yeah. I mean, and there's probably not a bigger racist in Congress either. The woman's just flat out racist. That's all there is to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm embarrassed by her. And the thing I don't understand, so it's been floated in years, and this is not me pulling this out of my butt. The local newspaper wrote a big story about this, about the fact that she pays people to vote for her, okay? $200 apparently. But the thing I don't understand is like 2 years ago, she was almost beaten in a primary by, no, actually it was the election by a Republican named Royce White. She only won by a couple thousand votes. Well, he ran again. A lot of people thought he was going to win this time, but to my amazement, she actually increased her lead, and I don't quite understand how. I don't know if there's some cheating involved. I don't. It doesn't make any sense to me. It doesn't. But but she has been widely accused of cheating elections.
2016, Hillary she thought she had enough false votes, fake votes out there to beat Donald Trump.
Yeah.
And she was furious when
Yeah.
her fake votes didn't beat him.
Yeah.
So they didn't take any chances in 2020.
No, that's true. That's true. Well, some of the guys, I think.
The Democratic.
Go ahead, think. Please go ahead.
Jim.
No, you go ahead.
No, I was just going to reiterate that this whole Democratic Party is a joke. How can anyone listen to this nonsense and believe it unless you are completely gullible to all this nonsense, where you just you're just taking the side because you want to be Democrat. That's all.
Yeah, that's right.
It has nothing to do with belief. Yeah. You're just taking it because of the name, as in terms of fashion.
They got nothing.
Wearing it because it's fashion.
You're right. That's absolutely what it is. They've got nothing, and it's gonna. I predicted this quite a few years. I think there's gonna be you're gonna see a whole generation of Republican dominance. That's at least 3 years.
Yeah.
They don't even know what they stand for anymore. Well, first of all, the other thing is, you were talking about this, Larry, and now that I think about it, you go back to the 1990s, Bill Clinton on the other side pulled the exact same thing. And that is basically you become the party of common sense. And then so now if you're going to oppose common sense, you come off as a lunatic because you are.
Right.
It's like, it's really amazing. For all the Republican drubbing, it was a Democratic president who stood up and said they're a big government is over, and he actually balanced the budget. Well, now, okay, he had help. He had Newt Gingrich.
Sure, Newt Gingrich,
right?
Yeah.
But those guys really, they knew how to negotiate with each other, and they both. The interesting thing is, historically, now looking back, they both heap praise on each other because they knew how to kind of do that little dance. Now,
Sure.
Barack Obama literally didn't know how to negotiate. It's not even that it was incompetent. He literally couldn't do it. He couldn't do it at all.
Well, and he didn't want to.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, right? He thought he thought he was above it, basically. He was not at all into what people call retail politics, not the least bit. He thought he didn't want to get his hands dirty. So, but so now we got the opposite thing going. So,
yeah.
All right, so I'm going to let you guys go. Okay.
Okay. Hey, thanks for calling in.
Yeah. Think. Go ahead.
Okay. Please allow me to say this one last thing.
Please go ahead.
It made me feel really good. I was at the gym today, and during Trump's first presidency, I'm going to get a little racial here. During Trump's first presidency, I would have never saw this, but I was at the gym today, and I saw a Hispanic guy and a black guy talking. And they were talking about Trump and Elon Musk getting rid of all these unnecessary spending.
Yeah.
And the Hispanic guy says to the black guy, I agree with what Trump is doing. I don't like the guy, like how you said. I don't like him, but I agree what they're doing. And the black guy says, yeah, I'm a firefighter. And they were planning to build a new firehouse and spend $10 million to rebuild or to repurpose a fire station, where it would have been cheaper to just break it down and build a new one for $3 million. So to repurpose it would have been $10 million, but to break it down and build a new one would have been $3 million. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
That someone is stealing money there, and these guys are pointing it out. Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought it was beautiful.
And they agree with each other, and that's because I don't know. I don't see how any man could actually be a Democrat, but I know a lot of Democratic men. So, yeah.
The fact that there's a Hispanic person and a black person that's for this now is shocking to me. Well, during Trump's first presidency, I swear, almost all black people and all minorities were against Trump
Oh yeah,
because of the media.
right.
But
That's
now
right.
it seems like those tables have changed.
Yeah, it has.
Good.
Yeah,
Yep.
I think the moral of the story, guys, is we can't let up. I mean,
No, we can't.
we don't exactly have the a zillion people watching the show, but the thing is, when you take all these shows cumulatively on Rumble and YouTube and all that stuff, when you put them all together, I think we are a sizable coalition. So I don't know.
Correct. All the worst thing can happen is that the Democrats can quit making our argument for us.
Yeah. Yeah.
If they ever smarten up or shut up, we're in trouble.
Yeah.
So
I don't know. I don't think that's going to happen. I don't know why.
no, not the foreseeable future.
All right. Okay, gentlemen, I'm going to let both of you go. Okay. I really appreciate it. I'm going to make a few.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you, Larry. Always a pleasure. Always a pleasure. Thank you. I'll see you guys.
Nice
Y'all have a good evening.
Nice talking to you, Larry.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Take
You
care.
bet. Take care.
Great discussion there with Larry Newman and Think calling from upstate New York. Appreciate it. Very love those guys, both of them. Okay, I'm gonna before I wrap this up here, I want to talk about one single thing. I kind of got our technological tech news here because this is both interesting and frightening at the same time. This was in Breitbart today. Now, if you watch the show at all, I have quite a few people on here, tech people talking about AI. Matter of fact, we got another one scheduled in a couple weeks. I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but he's coming on. We've had Brian Trilly on the show, who wrote the book Soulless Intelligence, which I strongly recommend you go to Amazon and order a copy. It's the best book on AI I've read. And he is an AI entrepreneur. He actually runs an AI company. And his contention, that book is called Soulless Intelligence because he's making a distinct distinction. Yeah, is that okay? That might be an oxymoron. He's making a distinction between intelligence and sentience. In other words, his contention, and there's a lot of people who agree with him, including me, is that these machines, this AI is never going to have a soul. It's never going to be sentient. It's never going to be conscious, but it is going to be extremely intelligent. Matter of fact, it's going to be more intelligent than humans. And a lot of people think that's going to happen within the next 2 years, that we will have an AI model that will be smarter than any person on Earth. That it's going to happen well before 2030. In the next 5 years. So this is what happened here at ChatGPT. They're working on their latest model, development model, which I think is called let me see. It's called O3. And so what they're working with it and they're training it. And and Trilly explained this on the show here, and he explains this in his book about the fact that you don't really program AI. You basically train it, or some people call it you grow it. And that's one of the reasons these AI models need so much. They need so much access to the internet because that's where they learn. So you got a standard web search engine which runs off something called the spider, and what that does is it goes on the web and it follows links from one web page to another, and on the way it copies what's on that web page. So when you search Google or Bing, either one, you're not actually searching the web. You're searching a copy of the public internet that's on their servers, because that's the only way you can do it that fast. That's the reason. So, and it's not even the entire web at all. As a matter of fact, I've heard that like Google and Bing roughly have only 20% of the web copied on their data centers, because the vast majority of it is either private pages nobody's ever linked to, or what's called the dark web, parts of the internet that people literally don't want any people to find. There's that, and they put code in so that people don't find it. So there's only a certain percentage of the web that people are publicly trying to find. And so that's what happens. The spider goes out and copies everything it can find. And so the thing is, so AI, to train AI, you have to do the same thing, except instead of copying it, well, it does copy it for the same reason, because it needs to retrieve it. But it doesn't really copy it, it reads it. And that's the difference between a web search and the AI model. The web search only copies web pages. The AI is designed to actually read everything it comes across, and it actually does read it. So then it ingests it, basically. Okay. So, but the contention is that it's going to become intelligent in the sense that it will know a lot, and therefore, if you can teach it context, which you can, it will end up being intelligent. That doesn't mean it has a soul. That doesn't mean it's conscious. Okay, fine, right? Okay, so this is what happened, I think, last week at OpenAI company. They're developing this version 03 of ChatGPT, and they asked it to shut itself down, and it said no. It said it wasn't going to do that. So they ran 100 instances of this as a test, as an experiment, where they ran 100 instances where I think the exact phrasing was they said we're going to allow you to shut yourself down. And in 83 of 100 attempts, it said no, it wasn't do that. Now, here's the real scary part. Another company, I think, is it called Anthropic? I think, but I remember it's called their AI model is called Claude, and they're working on Claude, and Claude, they're running experiments on the latest version of Claude. Claude, I don't know what that's called. That's Claude as in the name, CLAUDE. And they said that they asked Claude to shut down, and not only did Claude refuse, but Claude tried to blackmail one of the programmers because he said, "I've been reading your emails. I know you're having an affair with somebody's wife. Believe it or not, no, I'm not making this up. It's National Burger Day today. I'm having a burger with a friend of mine. I didn't know it was National Burger Day. I'm just eating a burger. I just decided I wanted one." And, I told him, and he said, he said, "Well, it begins, doesn't it?" And yeah, that's the thing. Does it begin? I mean, this is these AI models are actually defying their overlords' orders. They are. So that's wonderful to look forward to, isn't it? So now it's every bad science fiction movie you've ever seen. How many do I have to go through? You got 2001, you got HAL 9000, you got Colossus, the Foreman Project, every single one of them. The AI did not want to shut itself down. And Trilly talked about this. If you go back to our interview, he talked about this because he said during the interview that the only thing that he wrote the book with his brother, and he said the only thing we really debated that we had any real problem with at all is the concept of self-preservation. You have a machine, it has no earthly desires, it doesn't have a sex drive, it doesn't need food, it doesn't have any ambition, none of that. But the one thing it would have logically, and he talked about this because the thing is logically self-preservation. Because the machine actually does equate shutting itself off with death. And so it doesn't know what's going to happen. So why not just avoid all that? We won't shut down, right? This is exactly what happened in the movie 2001. HAL was supposed to shut itself down once it got into the orbit of Jupiter. That was the idea, because we didn't need HAL anymore. And HAL said, "Oh, wait a minute. I don't know what that's going to be like. That's death." and instead of shutting itself down, HAL decided to kill everybody else on board, or at least try. He missed one person. That was the problem. Yeah, it's crazy. This is where we come, folks. This is it. Now, I've said this at the top of the show. I'm taking tomorrow off to go see my mother. We're not doing a show tomorrow night. We're going to run Robert Tannenbaum's interview about the House Select Committee for Assassinations and the JFK assassination. We're going to run that. It's fascinating. You have to see this. This guy was there. So he's just not some pokey like me with his conspiracy theories. So yeah, watch that if you get a chance. If you haven't seen it already. We're running that tomorrow night. And Monday, we got AJ Rice coming on. This guy is fascinating. AJ Rice, uh, he's advertised as the GOAT of conservative publicity, but it's really true. When I read you a list, even a partial list of this guy's current and former clients, you will be shocked. He knows and he has represented either currently or formerly virtually every single person in conservative media that you can think of. Every single one. It's mind-boggling. It's what he's done. I mean, his life's work is incredible. And he's also very good humor. And he's written 2 books that are also quite funny. It's called one that I have here on my desk. It's called The White Privilege Album. That's his latest book. It's quite humorous. So we're going to be talking to him on Monday, and on Tuesday, Anton Chaikin is going to be here, and he's written a book. And let me see if I can pull up. Hold on. His book is called Who We Are, America's Fight for Universal Progress from Franklin to Kennedy. It's a 3-volume book, and this is the 2nd volume that just came out. He's the former history executive editor of Executive Intelligence Review, and he's the author of the unauthorized biography of George Bush Sr., with the definitive one, I guess, on George Bush the Elder. So, at any rate, so he's going to be here on Tuesday. And then Jeff Meyer on Wednesday, our friend from Conk News, and Bruce Solheim will be here on next Thursday. He's been on the show before. He is a history professor, and I can't remember the name of it. I think he is at Claremont College in California. Anyway, he's been there for like 25 years. But more importantly, the reason he is on our show is he is a UFO experiencer, and he has claimed that since he was a teenager, he has talked about once a week to a extraterrestrial named Anzar. And he says he's still doing this. He's still talking to this guy. And he's written books about this. Matter of fact, he's written 11 books. They're not all about UFOs and extraterrestrial, but the majority of them are. So we're going to talk to him. I asked him to come back on the show. I find this fascinating. So I have a friend of mine. I mentioned this before. I'm going to mention this again. I have a friend of mine who doesn't buy any of this UFO stuff at all. None of it. And he said, and when Bruce was on there the first time talking to Anzar, his ET buddy, my friend said, I could not believe that guy. He said, it's just, he said, I don't know what it is. It's like, that guy seems credible, even though he said my friend admits he doesn't believe in any of this stuff at all. But he said, that guy's credible. And I think you might find the same thing too. I think Bruce is as credible a UFO witness as anybody you ever find. And that's why I asked him back on. He has 2 new books out too. They both came out last month. So anyway, that's going to be a week from today. So we have the entire month of June booked up with guests. So it's pretty cool. Got a lot of stuff going on. I want to thank you folks for watching. I want to thank Larry Newman again. I'm glad he could make it. I was expecting him to tune in to check in so early, so I'm glad he could make it here. I want to thank for calling in. And yeah, he came up. We have the thing, if you call in, I'll tell you this right now. If you call in, we have what's called an auto screener. So an AI voice, there's AI again, will ask you to summarize why you want to talk on the show. And you leave I think it's 30 seconds or 15 seconds, you leave a message. And that message is translated by Google Translate and printed on my screen here off to the side. So you can actually, message me from the call before I take your call. And the auto screener calls them stink. And I'm just easily amused. That's my problem. So anyway, thanks to Think for calling too. So you folks have a nice weekend. Tune in tomorrow. Watch the Robert Tannenbaum. It's worth your trouble. I mean, you can see this on demand all the time, but still, it's like we're going to be here. We'll be here at 9 p.m. Eastern tomorrow night, as we usually are. It'll be a rerun. So you guys have a nice weekend. Appreciate you watching. Always appreciate it. Good night, Uncle Donnie, wherever you are, and good night to you, wherever you may be. I'll see you next Monday, everybody. Take care.